Hello everyone and welcome to the showdown between the High Elves led by Benedict Cumberbatch and the Tomb Kings, who are going to be led by Ark in the Black. So let's jump right into this match, guys, and have some fun. So over in Vanguard, I do have three groups of the Illyrian Reaver Archers, and I definitely feel like they give you some very good battlefield control. As you guys can see, they do have some pretty good melee stats with 32, 34, and 27 respectively, and they also provide you a little bit of missile overwatch. But really, if you look at them on paper against the Tomb Kings, you're going to be facing Shopti and Tomb Scorpions and Necrosphinxes and Iro Titans. All of these things that are very heavily armored, 100 armor, 110. So, and they have very low armor piercing values on their missiles. You can see they have 20 missile damage overall, with only 3 of that being armor piercing. But the main reason I brought them to this matchup was to shut down carrion and harass units. So my entire strategy of this game was to take advantage of the map. Obviously, it's a very open field desert map, as most of the Tomb Kings maps are, and use my Eagle Claw bolt throwers. So in total, I do have 3 of these guys. You can see 139 missile damage with a bonus versus large, and at 380 range, they can outrange the Ushapti Great Bows, who only have 255. So I was really hoping to use these things to take down the constructs over the course of a very long, grindy game. But the issue being is that Carrion, and if he was playing Followers of Nagash, he could use Direwolves and Fellbats and things like that, could potentially shut these things down. So I really wanted to make sure I had ample protection. As such, I brought 3 Illyrian Reaver Archers to shoot down the Carrion from the skies. And on top of that, these guys, like I said before, have pretty good melee stats, so I could just be chasing down skeletons. And that's really important when you're facing off against Tomb Kings, like killing their chaff, clearing them with cone effects and blast spells, and really just kind of allowing you to isolate the Tomb Scorpions and some of these bigger threats with your spears. So 3 of those guys. From my main line, I do have 4 groups of spearmen in total, 2 in the back who are going to be protecting the Eagle Claw bolt throwers. But really, like I've said in a multitude of casts, you don't really need a solid front line to take on the Tomb Kings. You just need something that's really going to hold and allow your big threats to do the heavy lifting. And just in case, I did bring 1 group of Phoenix Guard. I didn't want to commit too heavily against or with Phoenix Guard because Ark in the Black with Fate of Buna, and oftentimes if they have Ark in the Black plus like a Casket of Souls, which he has, or an Iro Titan, it's going to give you that massive Winds of Magic regeneration and reserves. Well, the Casket only actually gives you 1, so let's actually go ahead and check while we're on that point. So the Casket of Souls, the Roomba, you can see the Undead DJ having a good old time. He does have the Covenant of Power, so he just does a great increase to your power reserves. Has nothing to do with the recharge rate, unlike the Iro Titan who does both. But, I didn't want to invest too much in elite infantry. I wanted to go relatively wide, both with my infantry and with my ranged units in the back. So, but just in case, I brought 1 Phoenix Guard. Usually, he's usually going to be pretty good regardless. So that's pretty much it for my army. I do have a Teclis, who I thought would be pretty useful. And instead of going with like Nets of Amnitok, I went Flaming Sword Rune, Flock of Doom to clear out the chaff, and then also an Earthblood. And this is also another very, very essential aspect of the strategy. So what you do is you create a lot of separation between your spearmen. You put them like up here on this hill, put your bolt throwers in the back. So if he does break through your spearmen in the front line with his constructs, you then charge them down with the nobles. So the nobles are pretty powerful. I mean, they have 44 melee attack, 16 melee defense, and they also have a pretty good weapon strength, but more importantly, they have solid AP and a bonus for large. So with Benedict Cumberbatch, Flaming Sword Rune, they can snipe Ark in, they can go after the big constructs, they can do some pretty good work for you. So that's pretty much it, guys. Definitely some fun stuff going on for my opponent. Fairly standard Tomb King's army. He does have the Chosen of the Gods, Ark in the Black with Fate of Buna, Spirit Leech, all that kind of good stuff. Tomb Scorpion to deal with some of the armored infantry, Fear and Terror, and Tomb Scorpions, are definitely pretty spooky. He does also have a Necrosphinx over here, which is very good against like Dragon Princes and Star Dragons. The Necrosphinx, if you just have it fight like a Star Dragon head up, I'm pretty sure it'll beat the brakes off it. He does also have a front line of Skeleton Warriors, obviously a ton of expensive constructs, so he's not going to have too much in that respect. And some spears in the back just for good measure. 2 spears in the high ground, which are going to be protecting the Doom Roomba here, who's going to be raining fire on my guys. And the Roomba is actually a pretty good choice against the High Elves if you can keep it from getting taken out by Illyrian Reavers and things like that. So without further ado, guys, let's get this show on the road. So in the back, you can see my opponent is going to be hunting with the Carrion, and probably, what people usually do is they wait till their guys are in firing range of your artillery pieces, and sometimes they'll just send these guys in knowing that they won't live, but at least they'll shut down the artillery in the initial approach. So obviously, he's kind of getting cornered here a little bit. I have my 2 Reavers chasing here. I had one of them take the middle ground right there, but you can see the Doom Roomba just laying into those Illyrian Reavers, doing some pretty good damage, but he's just probably going to dive here knowing that he's pretty much caught. He's not going to get away. So he does engage. I pull my Spearmen, and like I said, the Reavers with their good melee stats should be able to kind of help take these guys out pretty quick, and you can see they're going to start getting chipped down. But Carrion, also something to note, Carrion and Hounds and things like that are not considered large entities. You can see they're infantry sized, well, I guess just like small size, whatever. So, things that have like anti-large like Spearmen aren't going to kill them particularly quick, but still enough, volume of troops will take them down. So right here, the Carrion are going to be fighting, trying to shut down the Eagle Claw bolt throwers, but we should be able to get those guys down with the spears, and man, they got melted by those 2 nobles and Benedict Cumberbatch. So now the good times are about to start rolling. So Shopti Great Bows are definitely the bane of the metagame. These things are just terrors in the night. So I have all 3 of my Eagle Claw bolt throwers just popping these guys, and you can see one of them getting taken out right there. And even though they won't kill them quick, at least it gives you something over the course of a very long battle that gets rid of them. And you can see 2 constructs going down right out of the gates. So the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower is definitely paying their dues. In the meantime, the Illyrian Reaver is just going to kind of shoot in at whatever I can hit, and eventually I'll be using them to cycle charge skeletons and tomb guards and really take advantage of the low armor of those Tomb King's troops. In the meantime, the Doom Roomba is going to be sitting on the high ground. He has a nice little comfy nook up here in the hill, just going to be bombing and, giving Arkin the Black those really, really good power, reserve rates. And it looks like Arkin's probably going to be coming in looking to get a Fate of Bune on something of high value, and even against Illyrian Reavers, it wouldn't be a terrible choice. But Teclis has his little goon squad, and they're just kind of riding around. Look at them, just dodging those Ushapti Great Bow arrows. But you can see the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower is doing a pretty good job against those Great Bows, taking them down to 6 models, and I can't recall if I switched targets. So what I decided to do is I get 2 of my Illyrian Reavers, keep them in the main line here, just going to have them chip at Arkin, even though it won't do a ton of damage, and I get this one group and send them up and around here because it's a very long ways away, so I was thinking that he might not expect that. Also over here, you can see that I do have my Spearmen having a really bad time here. But I do have my 2 nobles and Teclis who are going to be beating on this Tomb Scorpion. And Teclis, you can be a little bit risky with him because he does have the Potion of Koroi, so even if he takes a ton of damage, you can heal him up fairly easily, as it is on a short cooldown. And oh, look at the backflips on the Scorpion. Such a cool model. But this was a little bit scary. So the Necrosphinx comes in. So once your front line is compromised by the constructs, what I would typically recommend doing is falling back, and then you could pull the Phoenix Guard after you've assessed that there's no threats here, really. So continuing to take out those Great Bows, they're down to 5 models. I really just want to get rid of them so I don't have to worry about, them shooting at my Phoenix Guard or my other high-value troops or, trying to snipe my Lord. So one of my nobles does get trapped. You can see Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be casting Regrowth on this noble right here, kind of topping him off. The other one a little bit trapped up here. I was trying to path him out, but this Necrosphinx was just being such a beast. But the Phoenix Guard are getting here, and looks like Arkin the Blap, I don't know what that is. He's going to be popping the Liber Mortis here to give that ward save to all of his troops, which is going to be very strong. But you can see the nobles doing a very good job versus Tomb Scorpion. I mean, they're hunting it down, and normally that's one of the bigger issues for the High Elves. And aside from that, the Spearmen are honestly holding. I mean, Tomb Guard will chop through them over the course of a long battle, and Skeleton Spears can even do some work. But they're holding and doing their job and really allowing my Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers in the back to, do some heavy lifting. So at this point, realizing the Ushapti were crumbling and pretty low health, and I think they retreated out of my maximum range. Instead of overextending and going for them, I actually just ended up switching to this Necrosphinx, and it's doing some good damage. You can also see the Fiery Convocation is just going to go down, and a Flock of Doom, so I kind of timed that. I was really trying to burst those guys out and just crumble them. But that Fiery Convocation can actually do some really good damage. And you can see it continues to just surf down the line, just roasting these skeletons. I think I might have gotten a little bit of friendly fire there on some of my spears, but for the most part, doing some okay damage across the board. So Benedict Cumberbatch and his squad is just kind of moving around, just kind of tracking the threats. You can see, since we last looked at this Necrosphinx, it's taken about 700 or 800 damage. The Bolt Throwers continue to just kind of rain fire. Kind of the whole idea is that the Bolt Throwers, if he does come back here and go after them with the Necrosphinx, I'm going to have, Benedict and these 2 nobles to really just kind of hammer it while he goes after it. But that Necrosphinx gets a huge hit on Benedict Cumberbatch, and you can see for the first time the bounce of power actually goes in his favor a little bit from that. But I do pop the Potion of Koroi, which is going to give me healing and ward save, and I figured I had him pinned in here, so I was like, alright, let's stay the course, see if we can drag this thing down, get a couple more nobles hitting it, and also the Bolt Throwers are also starting to really kind of add up there. So I do have some troops on auxiliary here, so I'm going to be moving these Spearmen up to kind of plug the gap that these Skeleton Warriors got through. I have a lot of troops on auxiliary, so it's definitely nice. The Illyrian Reaver archers are going to be scooting forward. I think I'm actually going to be charging in on the Necrosphinx, just doing everything I can to finish this thing off. And you can see down it goes. So the construct has fallen to the nobles, and the Bolt Thrower fired. Definitely some cool stuff, and you can see some of these Tomb Guards get waxed by it when it falls down. So if we look in the back, I was able to get a flank, and he had some spearmen pulled up in this area. I think he pulled this group back, but may have lost control of them there for a moment. So I do get on the Casket of Souls. You can see the Illyrian Reaver archers with their pretty good melee stats were able to get through the 14 melee defense, no problem. So right now the bounce power has gone up a little bit in my favor, and you can see this is definitely a pretty cool strategy with the High Elves. So I popped the Flaming Sword of Ruin, which is going to augment the strength of a lot of these troops here, and maybe did it just hit Benedict? Maybe I missed it on some of these nobles, but anyways, it gives you fire damage, which is going to give you an extra, I think, 25% against Arkin the Black and all the Tomb King's Lords. Yeah, so that's pretty substantial. And the Bolt Thrower is also shooting in there. I pull some Illyrian Reavers to charge, but unfortunately they do break before they get there. But I'm just kind of doing everything I can to just pick off Arkin. So I have 2 of the Bolt Throwers shooting Arkin right now, and the other one's going to be shooting at these Tomb Guard across the battlefield. So now the bounce power is starting to go in my favor a little bit as Arkin the Black and a lot of the other constructs are falling. And then one group of Phoenix Guard definitely paying their dues, just kind of holding down the front line. And you notice that when I did get compromised in the beginning, I was able to pull these guys through and have them really support, which is pretty useful. And Arkin the Black's just kind of on the run right now, but you can see Benedict Cumberbatch is using his regrowth. He's got his noble buddy helping out a little bit, and he does get his Ushapti summon. But I have, plenty of good answers for the Ushabti. I mean, even High Elf Spearmen can do pretty well. They have the charge defense. They also do have the anti-large and pretty good melee defense at 50. So I do pull both the nobles in. So the nobles are going to just be going fisticuffs with these Ushabti. And you can see they're putting a pretty good dent in these guys. They obviously do degenerate on their own as they are a summoned unit. But for the most part, they're going down very quick to these nobles. And I really like this strategy quite a bit. I felt like Benedict Cumberbatch and the two nobles are techless. I'm sorry. A lot of you guys, the inside joke, and I just get so used to saying things as like the joke names that I use that I honestly like start to forget their actual names. But techless, there's kind of like a running joke in the community that he looks like Benedict Cumberbatch a little bit. The actor. So I don't know, that's just where that started. And I really think he does. If you guys go back and watch the cinematic, the first cinematic for Total War Warhammer 2, he really looks like him in that trailer. But anyways, I like this build quite a bbit. I feel like it's very strong. The downsides of this build being is that it's extremely terrain dependent. If I was on any of the Nagaron maps or anything with a little bit of terrain and forestry, and my opponent had some options for hiding and kind of maneuvering through the terrain with the Ushabti Great Bows and things like that, it would be far less effective. But if you are fighting the Tomb Kings on an open field map like this, I honestly think it can be a pretty viable build. You have answers for the Ushabti Great Bows, you have answers for the constructs, you have anti-large mobile squad with Flaming Sword of Ruin that can really snipe Tomb King's lords if they screw up once with that kind of burst, anti-large, flame damage. And it definitely feels like a very fun, strong build. But again, I've only played like 2 or 3 games with it and I've had success, but I think like maybe if this build isn't perfect, something like along the same lines is going to be pretty good. Because Ushabti Great Bows can just rain hell down on High Elves. They can like kill your Illyrian Reavers, they can kill pretty much everything you have. And obviously the Necrosphinx can outclass the Star Dragons, so there's definitely some spooky action going on there. But it seemed to work pretty well. Love to hear your guys' thoughts and feedback in the comment section below. So as far as my opponent's army, Ark in the Black, obviously a pretty solid choice. Skeleton Warriors, if you're going construct heavy, is good. Honestly, I don't think you even really need Tomb Guard. Like, I think actually bringing 2 is decent. Like bringing them against Spearmen, just so you have something to chew through them. I like the Carrion choice, having a little bit of utility and harass. The Tomb Scorpion, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the Tomb Scorpion in this matchup. The Necrosphinx is solid. The Casket of Souls. I'm trying to think what I would probably do instead. I'd have to actually go ahead and look at like the army roster to really feel things out. But more Ushabti Great Bows is always pretty good. But again, against like triple bolt thrower, yeah, it's gonna be a little bit tricky. But yeah, anyways, very well played to my opponent, Jake2296. Look forward to running into you again on ladder. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this High Elf versus Tomb King showdown. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.